Good evening, folks. I finally am getting around to doing a video on working with spirits and in the context of using flying ointments, because that is one of the primary ways that I use my flying ointments, as well as ones I purchase from other places as well, in addition to like flower essences and tinctures and things like that as well. So we are in my bedroom tonight. I was tired earlier, but now I can't sleep, so why not make a video for YouTube? Hello, coronavirus sleeping patterns. So this is just going to be a little bit, we're in my bedroom, obviously. I just want to show you a little bit of my setup. As you can sort of see, I have the universal circle. It's more usually used on the floor for ritual spaces for evocation and things like that, from Become a Living God. Because I do a lot of work with spirits in the astral realm, I decided to put mine on my bed. Now, if y'all could get around to making some bed sheets for this work, that'd be great. Just a suggestion. Love you all anyways. It's actually quite comfortable to sleep on. And while I have two cats who will probably make their presence known, it remarkably does not cat fur doesn't stick to it, so bonus points for that. Because as any cat owner knows, most of our stuff is covered in cat fur all the time. You can hear them in the background singing away. But so I just want to talk a little bit about how I personally work with spirits, because I do a lot of my work at night. No, I do my normal, I don't as often do like the standard kind of ritual evocation type things. I do sometimes. I don't always have the time to, so for me, this has become part of my nightly process. Most nights, I don't do flying ointments every night. I do like to give myself a little bit of a break, but hey, we've been in quarantine for 2 months. Not like I have to, be anywhere first thing in the morning, so So, usually what I do, and I will put some playlist links together, is for me, as I've mentioned before, ADHD witch. So sometimes I have problems concentrating, especially during the daytime or the more conscious hours, because right now they don't always happen during the day. My conscious hours right now are usually between like midnight and 5 a.m. When I'm like the most active, because I'm a night person. And so I wanted to do this video to kind of go over some of the things I do in my personal practice, because I've had a lot of success working with spirits and demons and things like that on the astral realm and through soul travel. So, and I'm going to read a little bit. I've started putting together a journal. We'll see how this goes. I am notorious for getting really awesome looking journals, writing about 20 pages in them, and then forgetting, and then getting another journal and writing 20 pages in them. That's probably going to be another story, another video on doing a book of shadows for ADHD witches. Because that would be me. But I'm trying to be more diligent about recording my experiences and things like that. So, without further ado, I'm going to come pick through my magic bag of flying ointments to see what I want to use today. This is actually a really cute little, it's a holographic bag. It's got the talking board on it, and it has a little, like, planchette thing. It's very cute. Impulse purchase at an occult shop. What am I feeling like tonight? I think we're going to go with Moonflower. That's a Datura-based one. Let me get my little spatulas. Or spatulae. I don't know. Spatula. First. So, I'm just going to take a little bit. Get that in there. And I usually start, and I'll put a little bit on my wrists. I've demonstrated this before in other videos on flying ointments. I'll maybe do like a little bit on my third eye. And temples. Now, I'll, depending on, what I want to do, I might apply this again in, say, 20 minutes, half an hour, or I might just leave it as it is. Depends on the night. Sometimes I use more, sometimes I use less. So that's usually the first step. What I do, I have put together for myself several playlists, and just to kind of start getting my brain into, okay, it's time to like quiet shit down up in that place, and like starting to get into that theta state, reaching around, getting comfortable in bed, getting things, you know, set up right. I've currently kicked all my blankets on the floor. Usually I'll have some of the blankets on the bed when I go to sleep, because one of the things I find is once I make spirit contact, I'll immediately get really cold. I don't know why. It's just like this chill kind of comes over me. And that's one of the ways I can kind of tell that that there's a presence. So I usually kind of wrap myself up in the blanket then, because I get cold. So that's how I start. So usually I set up my playlists in a way. Usually like the first track I'll put is like the chanting of the N. So if I'm working with Lilith, I'll have Lilith's demonic N. And you can find videos that are anywhere from like 10 minutes to like an hour long. So usually I'll start with one that's like 10 minutes. So that'll kind of give me time to reach around, try to find my eye mask, which is always hiding in bed. I prefer to use an eye mask when I'm doing this type of work, because that way it blocks out the ambient light. Because I also, I keep YouTube, you can't really see it right now, but I have my television here. So I have YouTube, the YouTube playlist on my TV, which is actually, I don't know what inch TV it is, but it's fairly big. So just to block out any ambient light. I also live in a city, stuff like that. And I have my little fairy lights hanging in the windows and some candles burning. Right now, I probably will turn those off, but I would say turn off candles, like I'm turning off the lights, but I'll probably turn off my candles before I fall asleep, probably. Most of these are glass encased, so like are burnt down enough in there, so I'm not really worried about it, and my cats are pretty good with not playing with fire, so far. But, so I find it really useful. Now, this is a really nice, it's a thick eye mask. I like it because it's got a lot of pressure in it. And this particular one is filled with flaxseed. And you can also put like herbs in it as well. So I think I could probably refill the herbs in it, but I think I did have like some lavender and peppermint and lemon in there maybe. It's whatever it came with when I got it. So I can like refill that anytime, put more flaxseed in and stuff like that. So, but I like the pressure on my eyes too, because I find that helps me to kind of relax. Because even like on a normal night, like if I can't sleep and I've tried everything else, if I put the eye mask on, it's somehow that just the pressure like underneath my eyes really helps me to be able to focus on going to sleep. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So I have a little carnelian heart crystal that I keep with me. A lot of times I'll sleep with that in the palm of my hand. I actually bought one for my boyfriend as well. So I feel like right now, since we're apart during quarantine, like this is sort of my little like heart link to him. So I always keep that with me. Either tuck it under my pillow or keep it kind of off to the side. So that's one of the crystals I keep with me. I'm not a big crystal witch, but like certain ones have meaning to me. I use, it's not like, oh, this is the magical crystal of whatever. And to be honest, I like shiny things. And this is one of my favorite pieces is smoky quartz. I'm a smoky quartz hoe, so I particularly like this piece because it just fits really nice in my hand, almost like a wand kind of thing, or I'm like pew pew. But I like this one. I sleep with this one a lot too, or else I put it on top of my headboard. And I also have a piece of ruby and fuchsite, something like that. I got it because it was pretty. So I usually keep that on my headboard as well. And in addition to an array of occult books and notebooks and things like that behind me, which I'm sure you can see. And I have my little altar that I burn candles. That's more for my like personal, like my own work altar. And I have a picture of my beloved kitty Buster who passed away back in January. And yeah, that's where I do my stuff, burn my candles, do my thing. So that's kind of my bedroom. Messes aside and all the blankets that are currently thrown on the floor. So that's kind of how I descend into the astral realm. Is I'll start with the enchanting, and there's also a lot of really great like guided meditations. Like there's one I really like for working with Lilith. Here comes my cat Corey. The cats are probably going to make some appearances because it's a bed. Right now he's sniffing my light that's in the background. I'm sure he's going to find a way to knock it on the floor. But, so there's one that I really like. I think it's by Satan and Sons. They do some really nice demonic ends and like guided meditations. And there's also like just some ambient music. Like I'll put together a playlist that can last several hours. Because at some point I will eventually fall asleep, or I wake up or kind of come out of the state of doing the astral work and then go to sleep after that. So, yes, now you can see my cat Corey in the background. So where I started now, I came back into my practice after being kind of on the atheist side of things. Like I always was spiritual but not religious, I guess in a way. And I believed in the spirit world and spirits, but I had no use for the sort of Judeo-Christian God, or even coming back into witchcraft, I was kind of like, I don't know about those gods and goddesses and things like that, and working with spirits. So it's taken me a little bit of time to kind of get my feet wet and start working within that world. Now, I worked with, ancestral spirits, spirit guides, and things like that, but not particular spirit. I always say spirits, and I just use that as the catch-all phrase for everything, whether you're talking about demons, angels, ancestors, gods, goddesses, whatever. So I usually just say spirits. So I started working with Lilith, and it's been a really amazing experience, especially working in the astral realm. So I first started working with Lilith because I felt drawn to her. I don't really know why. I'm kind of one of those people that goes a lot by intuition and things of that nature. So I started working with Lilith, and it's really been an amazing experience thus far. It's at first it felt like it was going to be an obstacle to me. Like this was going to be something that was going to be really, really tough for me to kind of wrap my brain around. And sometimes it is. I have my moments of, I guess everyone in their spiritual awakening and stuff like that goes to those moments of, okay, I'm just bat crap crazy, So when I decided to start working with Lilith, I did a guided meditation, and so let me get comfortable here. And so starting with her, the enchanting, Ranish, Vyasa, Avaj, Lilith, Virash, and kind of repeating that over again. And even as I'm working, continuing to, like sometimes I find I'm making hand gestures, almost dancing to it. So I'm trying to figure out how to keep this open while doing this so I don't lose my spot. All right. My vape will hold it down. So like Ranish, Vyasa, Avaj, Lilith, Virash, just making like hand gestures when I'm doing these things. For some reason, like, I feel like it's drawing the energy, even if I'm laying down and starting to get into the meditative state, or doing it, like occasionally, I don't know if you can see the mirror in the background, but like sometimes I'll do them in front of the mirror like that. And every time it's a different kind of hand gesture that I do. And sometimes, my body moves with it as well, or I'm up and down and all that. But as I found, as I was sinking into the state, that I was sort of like drawn through this dimensional portal from my waking and astral stage to the realm in which Lilith exists. And it's the portal itself was sort of, it almost was like an oil slick, that sort of glistening, that rainbow in the dark. Okay, totally channeling Ronnie James Dio right there. But anyways, sorry, old metalhead. But anyways, as I entered her realm and, learning to work with spirits and again, I use that term broadly, as, I asked permission to be there. It wasn't like, yo, Lilith, what's up? Can you do some shit for me? It was like, hello. I asked for her permission to be there, to enter and to work with her. And she told me that I've been here before and that I've always been here. And, I asked her for some personal guidance on a particular issue, which I'm not going to get into. And, she gave me some advice on this, and I thanked her for her guidance, and then I returned back to my own realm. So this was my first working with her. And I was curious as to why she, was like, yeah, you've been here before. I'm like, okay. So I'm looking through my journal, and I have some of it I haven't transcribed yet, because I'm really good at just jotting things down on random pieces of paper. In the middle of the night, I'll be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 don't forget this. So the next time I worked with Lilith, I kind of followed the same track. I use my flying ointments because I find that helps open up the consciousness, for doing astral travel and things like that. And in the next working, she reminded me of a dream I had in January 2015. And it was a very specific dream that stuck with me because just the backstory on it was I had just had surgery. So I was all hopped up on Percocet, and I also had a really bad flu, so I also had fever dreams. So the combination of opiate dreams and fever dreams can take you to some very weird places, and that they did. And in this dream, I traveled to this, the underworld. I'm just going to call it that, or into a demonic realm. And it was revealed to me in this dream that I was a ruling class demon. And this was prior to me being interested in demonology, and even prior to me starting to watch the TV show Supernatural. So I don't know where that came from at that time. Because sometimes, things will, you fall asleep watching the news or movie, and the influence of that kind of ekes into your dreams. But I remember the dream very clearly, but, I hadn't really thought about it much since then. I've always been one to have very weird, vivid dreams. I even remember dreams I had as a small child. So it was interesting that she brought me back to that place to make me think about what that meant, because I've had prophetic dreams. I've had, and I could do a whole video series on that. From dreams I've had, from childhood to now, because I have very vivid dreams. I always have, and I remember them all, or mostly. So I asked her. I was like, well, who was I? And she wouldn't reveal to me at the time, but she said that I've been here before. And I wrote down, beneath the ruins in my dreams, the temple arises, stone, sand, blood, bones. I don't know. Anyways, so that was my first working. Those are my first workings with Lilith. And I've been since then, I've been doing some workings with Lucifer as well, and Belial. And I'm going to get a little more into some of that in later videos. I don't want to, go on all night on this, but I just wanted to talk kind of a little bit more about the Lilith parts of it. So later, in evoking Lilith again in the astral realm, she welcomed me, and I guess, let me pause here and kind of go back, but it takes a little while when you're doing astral work for things to take form. Like the first time, like I was aware of like wings and forms and shadows. It wasn't like a clearly painted picture, constructed, image of it. But, it's at times, her physical form changes. And so in this particular working with Lilith, it was a little more ethereal in her temple. And we ascended this spire in her realm, or in her astral realm, and we're sort of sitting, it's almost like on like an invisible platform in a way, but we were both sitting and laying amongst the stars, just kind of watching the universe. And she told me that she would share her infinite knowledge with me in due time. So we've made oaths to each other in working together and things like that. So in the next working, we went to the underworld, and I'd contacted her, and I find it's becoming easier and easier. Now, there's times where I'm just not in the right mind frame to do this in sort of the astral realm. So, it's hit or miss depending on, I have weird sleep issues. So sometimes my brain is just not cooked up right to be doing this type of work. But so revisiting the dream about being a ruling class demon, I asked her who I was. So I was like, I'm curious. I want to know more about this. And so we traveled. The only way I can describe it is we traveled on her astral elevator to the underworld. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. To the underworld to find out. I'm not entirely sure who we talked to. But the name that was revealed to me was Grand Duchess Amamiel. And I think I figured the spelling on that is AM'Mamiel. So the reason, and I was kind of like, all right, well, that's cool and all, but what does all this mean? And, it sounded like I wanted to go topside to experience the living realm again. So it's been interesting work, kind of going through that, and I'll kind of break out into some of the other workings too, because since I started working with Lilith, I've also been doing sort of the path working through the demonic gatekeepers, starting with Belial and Lucifer and Mammon. And some of this is all kind of interconnected at times. So it's interesting working with spirits, because it's sort of like, it's not just like, well, give me the information I want, or take me to this place, or make me do things. It's like, well, what can I do for you in return? So it's the other night, I just kind of, in my astral realm, I was like, Lilith, I'm always asking you for things. I'm like, what do you want to do? We went swimming. It was lovely. But, I've done different things within these realms. I've been working a little bit with allowing Lilith to kind of possess my body, to sort of advance, bouncing about through the astral realm and doing soul travel to different places and getting kind of that out of the body experience. But the thing that I find that most interesting about working with Lilith is, for me, she seems to kind of like know everyone and be like, oh yeah, she's like, I'll just take you to so-and-so over here. So, she's an interesting spirit to work with, intense, but I've had good experiences so far, and my cat Moon is very much, I don't even know where she is right now, but my cat Moon is a very avid devotee of Lilith. She loves my Lilith altar. But in one of the last workings I had, and I've still been trying to find out as I've been working with other spirits as well, is more about being a Mamiel. And even in my first working with Belial, I was recognized as that, which was interesting. And so, each time I'm working with spirits and things like that, I do different things. I think what I'll try to do is put together and share some of my playlists, or link to them in this video, because I know other people have trouble. I see in the forums and things like that where people I'm having trouble, on the astral realm and projecting and connecting with spirits this way. And this is what works for me. I mean, we're all different. Some people do much better with elaborate ritual evocation. For me, I like doing that, but I feel like my real connection with the spirit world comes through the astral realm, through doing astral travel and soul travel. And it's I guess it's the thing is like asking the spirits, like, how can you repay the favor for them? What did the devil make me do in return? I had to bake an angel food cake for Lucifer with a rose petal infused glaze. Yeah, that Lucifer man, I mean, total evil man. Totally evil, I gotta tell you. Angel food cake, that's some devil work right there. Belial, on the other hand, wants me to punch a Nazi. I'm kind of okay with this. So, one of the most recent workings I have with them, and sorry I keep looking down, I'm kind of looking through my notes and stuff in my journal. It's a little bit dark in here. And for some reason I made the decision to write in red ink. So I don't know if I got to it in here. But in one of my most recent workings with Lilith, I don't know if I was working with just solely with Lilith or Lilith and Lucifer, but I allowed Lilith to possess me, and I'm not sure exactly where we traveled, but I remember kind of traveling sort of downward, let's just say the underworld, but we were in this very elaborate room, and once we got there, we kind of separated into our own entities, and we were at this a very fancy ornate boardroom table, at which, Lilith was at one end, Lucifer was at the other end, and the demonic gatekeepers were all there. Belial, Abaddon, Azazel, Asmodeus, Beelzebub, Baal. Did I forget someone? I know I forgot someone. Satan didn't show up, but King Paimon did. And who did I forget? Lucifuge. I think I got all of them there. But so all the demonic gatekeepers were in presence, kind of seated at this strange boardroom table. But it was, I don't know, it was a very surreal experience. And then we went into the center of this, ritual room. Now, again, Lilith takes more of a physical form for me because I've worked with her more, where some of the other spirits are a little more wispy and inconcrete. Like Samael was associated with Lilith. For me, kind of, the only way I can describe him is sort of almost like the smoke monster from Lost. It's sort of this swirling serpentine, smoky kind of spiritual presence. But in this, where this particular ended is I was at the center of the ritual circle, surrounded by the gatekeepers, and again, this was sort of in search of the Amamael information about who that incarnation was. And I was at the center of the circle. And for whatever reason, I don't know, Spirit's really all into like the blood work kind of thing. So, you know, they had to drink my blood. I had to drink their blood. In the spiritual realm, no blood, no demon blood was actually harmed in the making of this film. Or human blood for that matter of fact. But in this, the demonic gatekeepers revealed to me, they were like, you're not ready in your human form to know the things that Amamiel knew. So those things will be revealed over time, because all at once that like massive gnosis would like literally kind of like destroy you in your human form and stuff like that. So I don't know. This is the point I'm at sort of in my spiritual awakening, where I'm like, okay, either the shit is real or I'm bat crap crazy, and like that I'm at that point of the spiritual awakening where you're like, all right, do I just need to check myself in somewhere? Yeah. I know a lot of people go through this when they're doing any kind of spiritual work or path working or just, you know, getting into something and whatnot. But that this is one way that when I talk about using, to kind of bring it back full circle to where I started with, is, you know, this is one of the ways in which I use the flying ointments that I make is for these, you know, sort of spiritual journeys that I go on. And with each of them, they're a little different. You know, I try to make notes what with what, you know, what I was doing with which particular working, to see if there's some kind of combination. Now, with that being said, just announcing a new project that I'm working on is, and I have a couple brews infusing, is I'm making flying ointments for working with specific spirits. So right now, I currently have the test batches infusing for Lilith and Lucifer. So those should be ready maybe within a week, so I can test them out, see how they work. So how I am constructing these, I'm also working on for other spirits as well, is that it's sort of a two-step process. It's one, it's taking, you know, the entheogenic herbs that I use in, you know, varying combinations, and also then adding in the herbs that are, or scents that are associated with that spirit. So like with Lilith, she's associated with things like peonies and orchids and poppy flowers and things like that. So I'm also adding in that layer of it into it. So you're kind of combining two different mechanisms. So I've been doing a lot of research on the different, it's been a little bit challenging. So looking at, you know, each of the, you know, demonic gatekeepers and kind of looking at, okay, well, what's associated with them? Like, it might not be necessary, like Asmodeus is associated with like lust and love and things like that. So Asmodeus would be someone that, you know, you would call upon, you know, maybe for some sort of like relationship kind of working and things. I haven't worked with that particular one yet, so my knowledge is a little bit limited. But, you know, if it's one of those things where it's like, if I couldn't find specific, you know, historical, like, oh, Asmodeus is associated with X, Y, and Z herbs, it's also looking at, well, what is this particular spirit associated with, and then looking at that thematically and pulling in like different herbs. So like if you're looking at herbs that are associated with like lust and passion and power and things of that nature, you know, I'd pull in like things like blue lotus and patchouli and stuff of that, like that, and add it in with the base of like mandrake root and belladonna and datura and all that. So that's a fun new project I'm working on. I'm glad I finally got around to doing this video. Thank God for insomnia. So yeah. So stay tuned for some new product releases and more videos coming up. I just figured I'd do this one tonight since I had nothing better to do, and yeah, it's been 2 months in the stupid coronavirus lockdown thing that seemingly sometimes has. Anyways, have a great evening. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, and thank you all. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Mwah.